This is the first episode of a new segment that I'm going to be calling Fatherly Advice. What me and Natalie are going to do today is go over the basics of team building and yes, team building and your character sideline. I think there's a lot of tutorial videos and how-tos for Heroclix all over the net. And I don't see a lot of videos just about kind of specific strategies or even just breaking down certain basics that new players may have questions about, but even experienced players later on ask questions about this. And so that will be our segment today. We're going to go into that and let me show you our team. All right, so first let's break down some basics. First of all, whenever you're making a team, each character will have a certain amount of points. It'll be indicated right here next to your set symbol, and then the number of where you are in the set. Can I use that? No? Okay. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. She stole my pen. All right. You also have the name indicated in team ability back here. So generally, most standard games, you're going to be building a 300-point team. So you will be adding up the amount of points here up to 300 points, which generally in a 300-point game, you get 1 power action for every 100 points of the build total. So that is something that you'll want to keep in mind when you're building your team, because the superpower leadership can give you an additional power action. This is also the amount of points that your opponent will score if they defeat this character. So if you build your game, if you build your team with a really high point character, let's say you do the 300-point Chase Thor from this same set. If he dies, that's it. They score the full 300 points. Now, the hope is that he's strong enough that he'll live and make it the whole time, but it is something to be mindful of when you are building a team. Okay, so with all of these, you have different colors on the set symbols. What this is actually indicating is the rarity of the figure. So you have white, which means common, green, which means uncommon, silver, which means rare, gold, which means super rare, and then this bronzy color, which is indicating that he's a chase. He also does have a different color base. That's something that they do with certain chase figures. Generally, it doesn't mean anything to the game effects. It just looks cool. But let's go over these. So this silver ring around the dial that the other guys don't have, that actually indicates that the character is a unique. It means that you can only play 1 copy of Molecule Man on your force. Similarly, this green ring is a prime. Prime figures can only be, you can only have 1 prime for your entire force, whether that's on the map, sideline, generated, whatever. You're supposed to only have 1 figure on your force as a total. In this case, he is a unique chase, so I couldn't play more copies of Collector. But those are some of the basics. You also do have, on some characters like Molecule Man, multiple points that you can play them at. In this case, he could start at a green line and be played at 100 points, or a red line and be played at 30 points. So let me see if I can adjust my camera where we can see a little bit better here. So, now most people play Molecule Man at the 30-point click. But at 100 points, as you can see here on the dial, there is a green line. You guys are all staring up my nose. If we scroll over here, you see the red starting line, right? Which means that if I play him for 30 points, it's the red line. 100 points, it's the green line, and so on and so forth. Minifigures have this kind of a thing. It's a really, really nice feature that helps with team building and helps with strategy, where you could potentially play a figure at different levels. Be mindful of the character card. I'm going to go into the character cards here next, because sometimes characters have different powers and abilities when you start them at different levels. So, Yeah, look, I'm making a video. Do you see? Do you see? That's you. Ha ha! Ha! We're making a video. All right. So the next thing to look at is going to be a character's card. So, on a character's card, up at the top is the name of the character. You can also see the number they are in the set. And then in the background of the picture, it's gold, so I know that he's a super rare. They also have the green ring around the picture to indicate that he's a prime. And then you also have his like improved targeting ability, so on and so forth right here. But you can also see, you know, you can take, as you're looking through building teams, you can look at your character cards and very quickly assess whether or not something's going to be a unique or what rarity it is, if that's something that matters for what you're playing in. What?
Sauce.
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 Oh, all right, sauce. So Natalie likes sauce apparently. So under the character's name, you're gonna see keywords. Keywords are really important for team building. So in this case, you'll notice some of them are in like standard letters, and then a few of them are in italics. Basically, keywords that are in italics are are generic keywords, and then the ones that are not in italics are named keywords. So in this case, Imperial Guard and Shi'ar are both named keywords. Cosmic Ruler and Soldier would be generic keywords, which in the old days made a lot more of a difference, less so nowadays, but you may play in a tournament or something that says, you know, named keywords only or something like that. And that's how you tell the difference between the two. When you build a team, if everyone has a matching keyword, this can do things like give you an initiative bonus when you first start the game. It can also give you additional what are called theme team probability controls, which if you're playing a 300-point game and you have a theme team, you get 3 theme team probability controls. You also get a plus, so if my force has 5 people on it, and my opponent has 4, I get a +1 bonus to rolling to see who goes first. So making a named theme team is something that is important. Okay, so I'm gonna go over this team and why I built it this way. So, this fella right here is who inspired me to actually make this video. If you're not familiar with the collector, he has an ability, 2 traits that allow me to get a bonus depending on the kind of team that I've built. If I have at least 1 character of each rarity, common, uncommon, rare, and super rare on your force, friendly characters modify attack +1. I'm going to go in how I get that because as you can see, I have 2 green characters, 1 gold, he's a chase, so he doesn't count in this, and 2 rares. Probably wondering where my common is. I will get back to this and show you because that will be our next lesson, which will be sideline. At the beginning of the game, if each character on your starting force is from a different Heroclix set, as long as the collector is on the map, friendly characters modify damage +1. And that's where you can notice by looking at the top right logo on all my cards, they are all featuring a different set symbol. So now let's go into the sideline. What do I have on my sideline? So on my sideline, I have 2 scroll spies. Now for your sideline, there are 3 spaces for every 100 points of the build total. So generally in most games, you're going to have 9 spaces. Now, stuff can't just go on your sideline for any old reason. You have to either have it specifically say on the card, sideline active. So in this case, for all characters with this trait, when an opposing character is KO'd, you may choose a scroll spy on your sideline, roll a d6, on a 5 through 6, generate the chosen scroll spy from your sideline on click number 2 in the square that the KO'd character last occupied. So, these guys have a purpose for being here. Now, not every character that's on your sideline is going to have sideline active. You could potentially have a swap character, which I will make a future episode on swap and recruit. All right, so the other effect, which is mainly how my strategy here for me to get my collector bonus works. So if we look at Gladiator's card, Reluctant Magister of the Shi'ar Empire, Leadership, Mastermind. When Gladiator uses leadership and succeeds, you may instead generate a 009 Shi'ar soldier on click number 1. And then they can do some additional things if they produce a flag. But basically, in the game, I can roll leadership on Emperor Gladiator here, and on a 5 or a 6, I can generate, which generate is a different keyword in the game. So I'm not pulling from the sideline that we just talked about. Generate would actually come from somewhere else. I think it's generally indicated as, you usually have kind of 3 areas. You have your actual sideline, and then you have like a KO area. I usually keep my generated figures in a little bin in my KO area. So he would generate this figure, right? And once generated, he completes the bonus because collector, his check for the attack checks constantly. So if I lost this common figure, then I lose that bonus. But this is a way that you can do that, and it also is a way for me to explain kind of the difference between your standard sideline characters and then characters that could be generated to your force. So yeah, this is a straight 300-point team here. We've gone into some details about generating its sideline. Okay, so to summarize and go over everything. This is kind of your essential basics of building a team. And it just depends. You have a lot of variables here. Things like what kind of a keyword you want to build around. One of the popular teams to build around right now, or meta characters, is Thanos, right? This is a cosmic theme team. Every single character on this build has the cosmic generic keyword. And that's also the same keyword that most people use to build around Thanos. Actually, a lot of people use Collector and Molecule Man and Sprite and some of those kinds of type pieces around him as well. But yeah, have fun with it. The whole point of team building and kind of playing around with this is to build a team of your favorite comic book moments. For me, I think you can see with the picture in the back, I'm a huge fan of Nova. I love the Annihilation story. I've built many teams based on moments in that comic book story, or so on and so forth. And I encourage you guys to do the same. Don't just build a team because it's something you see on the internet and see other people playing. Experiment, build your own teams, play around with the things you can put together. I would also say, and then this is kind of a core piece for the way that I like to build my own teams. I used to be a big WoW player. So one of the ways that I kind of think of a team, right? You have your tank or your heavy, right? Like in this case, Emperor Gladiator can take a hit or two. He's a very tough character to take down, and he can deal quite a bit of damage. So in this case, he is my primary tank, if you will, on this build. Firelord and Nova are definitely intended to just be damage. They're just additional Hi Cat. Go away now. These guys are just intended to be additional support, additional attacks, and additional damage on the field, right? And then Collector, Molecule Man, and Sprite are all different versions of support. Sprite has probability control and outwit. She also can be a secondary attacker. I've used her that way. But until she makes an attack, she can't be seen, so she's fun to put someplace. She's got a long range, really good extra outwit and probability control. Oh my gosh, cat. Sorry. Cats. Anyways, Molecule Man, really popular support character. He's got an 8 range triple target incapacitate, stealth, outwit, but his big one is that he can create, well, he's since been errated out as of the time of this video. He can create 3 squares of blocking, 3 squares of smoke. Really, really good for just placing some different kinds of barrier and so on and so forth to be defensive. So, support piece. And then, of course, you know, I've been talking about him the whole time. The whole reason for him and the way that I built this team is to potentially give everyone a +1 attack bonus and a +1 damage bonus. But on top of that, Mr. Collector here on top dial actually has a 12 attack double target incapacitate. He could do some stuff himself. He's only got a 4 range. He's not really a big attacker, but his other that he has is Perplex. So Perplex is very, very useful on top of this, right? In theory, if I have the attack bonus, as it is, Emperor Gladiator has a 12 attack on his own. He'd be at a 13. He could pump him up to a 14 attack. I ain't missing, buddy. So when you're building a team, you should think about these kinds of things. You should play with these kinds of things. I encourage you to even try to do skirmishes against yourself. Just to practice those teams and practice those builds. Because the better you get at the quick thinking, quick building, so on and so forth, the better you will be in different various types of sealed events, and so on and so forth, where you're on a clock with random stuff. Right now, we're kind of in the middle of our X of Swords organized play. We're going to be doing our month 2 game here in the next week or so. That kind of critical thinking and team building skills translates to other events. And so I highly encourage, take some of these kinds of things, play with them yourself. If you have any questions or comments, you know, put them down below, and let us know what kinds of other fatherly advice episodes you would like to see. I want to try to make some more of this kind of stuff. I'd like to help you know, beginners, intermediate, and advanced players understand different aspects of the game that aren't necessarily deep dived into. And so let me know what you guys would like to see. Thank you all for watching. Have a great afternoon.